Hi. Now, I did a video recently where I talked about building up a sound, things to think about and questions to ask yourself about the sound, like, does it need more bass, more treble, less gain, more mid-range, that sort of thing. Now, part of building up a sound very often is using effects. And while effects can be useful, they're very easy to misuse or to abuse. So I thought I'd talk a little bit in this video about things to take into consideration about the use of effects as part of your sound. So as a starting point, here's a clean sound, something that I built up with a few different effects. Now, there's a few different things in the mix there, including a chorus sound. Now, if I take the chorus out of the mix, it changes the sound, but it's fairly subtle. That's the sound with the chorus, and that's the sound without. And that's one way to use effects, just to use them as subtle factors, and everything just kind of gradually builds up as part of the overall sound. No effect's really dominant. You can think about it, you hear a sound and you think, well, if I take a particular effect out, it doesn't change the sound that dramatically. The sound might be better with the effect, but it's not that dramatically different for being without it. Now, another way you can use effects is to make them really pronounced. So here's the same sound that we had before. What I've done is I've taken the chorus out of the sound and I've added a flanger. Now, I've added the flanger with the settings a little bit more extreme than I might normally do, and it sounds something like this. Now, that's a sound where if you took the flanger out, it sounds a lot different. It's not just a subtle ingredient as part of the sound. The flanger sounds a lot more dominant. And there'll be times where that sort of sound will work. Probably not all the time. It might be an effect that you want to just bring in, like if you like, on a case-by-case basis. Like for a solo, you'd bring that effect in and then take it out, or for a bridge, you bring it in and then take it out again for the rest of the song. It's just adding in one pronounced effect to the overall effects chain. And be careful when you're using like a strong effect. It's best just to have one effect that's really dominant. If you had like a really pronounced phaser and a really pronounced flanger, the two might fight each other a little bit. Just have a sound which is like that bass sound with a flanger added, or that bass sound with a chorus added, or something like that. Now, that sound, like I say, would be usable in probably certain circumstances, but not all the time. Now, what I've done with this next sound is it's the same thing, but all I've done is I've added a dirtier gain stage to it. And again, that's got a fairly distinctive sound. It's usable possibly only in certain circumstances. It works quite well as a rhythm sound, actually. This is a little tip. If you've got two guitars playing, have the rhythm sound with a bit of a modulation effect. Possibly not as pronounced as that, but a little bit of chorus or a little bit of phaser or a flanger or something. And then the lead sound dry without any modulation effect. The lead line will stand out from the rhythm a lot more than it would do if they both had a modulation effect, or neither of them had a modulation effect. Now, some effects you might want to bring in just to use them for a particular point in the song and then take them out of the chain again. A good example of that is something like a wah-wah. So here's the sound, basic sound that we had before, just the dirty sound without any modulation effect. And what I can do is I can bring in a wah-wah effect on that. Now that's quite a pronounced effect, and it's the sort of thing you might want to bring in just for solo. So you'd be playing with the basic sort of sound for the main part of the song, and then when you get to the solo, start playing with the wah wah effect. Now, there's all these questions you need to ask yourself about how you use effects. You know, it might sound okay to you, but think about how is it going to work within the context of a song. Is it something that you're going to lose the impact if you use it all the way through? Is it something that just needs to be used, say, just for solo or just for a particular section? You know, listen and try to be as objective as you can. It's very easy, particularly if you just picked up a new effect, to try to overuse it and just turn the knobs up just that little bit too far. You know, try and be restrained. You know, one of my greatest regrets is the first time that I went into a studio to do any recording, I had some fairly new gear, and the results that came out of it, you know, listen back to it years later, I think, oh, I just had too much going on. I had, you know, too much chorus and flanger and everything going on at the same time. You know, there's times I should have just been, you know, a bit more sparing in the way that I use those effects. And it's something that comes with, you know, time and experience. But it helps if you can think about what it is that you're doing, you know, rather than just blankly experimenting. Think about, you know, well, that effect, it's too much, dial it down, or that sounds too dry, add some modulation, that sort of thing. You can think of it a bit like cooking. You know, you could have a particular recipe for something, but now and again, if you want to cook, you're not going to cook the same dish time and again. Sometimes you might want to do the same thing, but you're going to add a little bit more chili just to spice it up, or you're going to add a bit more of a particular herb to give it a particular flavour. So you've got that basic sound, or you've got that basic recipe, and there's things you can do to vary it, to give it a bit more interest. Now think about how you use effects, you know, whether it's little stomp boxes or, you know, big top-end digital multi-effects units or anything in between. They all have a part to play in your sound, but you need to be careful to use them, you know, if you like, use them responsibly, and don't overuse the effects. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good the music that you're playing is, if the sound, if the voice is wrong, people aren't going to want to listen to it so much. So, you know, be careful about how you use effects to get the best out of your sound. Okay, so have fun, do experiment, but listen carefully and keep asking yourself those questions about, you know, am I using these effects right? What does the sound need? Does it need more of this, less of the other, whatever? Okay, have fun, and hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.